You've probably heard the name before, Anunnaki, sometimes whispered in conspiracy videos, sometimes printed on ancient tablets, sometimes linked to aliens, gods, even the beginning of human life itself. But who were they really? To begin, we have to go far back, further than you might expect. Long before the pyramids, before writing, before cities. Around 9600 BCE, on a quiet hill in what is now southeastern Turkey, someone built something strange. Massive stone circles, carved pillars, hidden underground. We call it Gejenti Tepe. There are no names here, no kings, no gods we know of. But there was worship, ritual, belief, a temple with no known story. And then, thousands of years later, the stories began. We travel forward to ancient Sumer, modern-day Iraq. The year is somewhere around 3000 BCE. And here, for the first time, we find names. Lists of gods, carved in clay. And among them, the Anunnaki. Were they just myth? Were they powerful rulers? Or, as some believe, were they something not from this earth? You don't need to believe anything yet. Just listen. Let's take a slow walk through history, mythology, and mystery, and see where it leads. The day is still hot. You've wandered further from the market, now closer to the temple steps. A priest stops to speak with you. He notices your curiosity. He tells you a story. It begins long ago, even before the first cities. Before humans worked the fields. Before they lifted stones. When the gods did everything themselves. The Anunnaki, he says, once lived among us. They worked the land, dug the rivers, shaped the earth. But they grew tired. One god, his name was Enki, saw their suffering. Enki was wise, calm. He lived in the fresh water below the earth, in a place called the Abzu. The gods gathered and decided they would create a new being, one that could help them, a helper, a worker. So Enki and the mother goddess Ninhursag went to work. They shaped a figure out of clay, but it was lifeless, still. So they mixed it with something else. Some say it was divine blood. Some say it was the spirit of a god who had been sacrificed. Whatever it was, the clay stirred, and the first human opened his eyes. He was called Adamu. Not a god, not a beast. Something in between. They made more. And soon, the new beings began to grow in number. They worked the fields, built the canals, watched the stars. But things didn't stay simple for long. The humans began to change. Some learned quickly. Some spoke in new ways. Some began to question the gods, and not all the gods agreed on what to do. Enlil, the sky god, grew angry. He thought humans were noisy, disobedient. He wanted them gone. But Enki still cared. He whispered to them in dreams. He taught them healing, farming, writing. And so, a quiet battle began between the gods who ruled, and the god who remembered what it meant to create. You stand in silence as the priest finishes. He places a hand on your shoulder. Remember, he says softly, they made us for a purpose, but we became more. You walk back into the sunlight, the world around you buzzing again with life. But something has changed. You're not just a visitor now. You're beginning to understand how deep these stories go. The temple air is heavy with smoke. You step inside slowly. It's cool and quiet here. Clay lamps flicker on the walls. The scent of burned incense, bitter and sweet, fills your lungs. You sit at the edge. You're just watching now, listening. A line of worshippers comes forward, each holding something in their hands. A basket of barley, a jug of oil, a small carved figure. Each one stops, kneels, and offers a silent prayer. In the corner, a priest chants, not loudly but rhythmically. The same words, again and again. You don't understand them, but you feel something. They're not just praying. They're inviting, appeasing, keeping a promise made long ago. What did the Anunnaki want? The Anunnaki weren't just gods of the sky and the earth. They were gods of order, of law, of balance. The people believed the world was like a tightly strung harp. If you played it right, the gods were pleased. If you let it go out of tune, disaster. So they made rituals, repetitive, careful. Small details mattered. How you poured the oil, where you placed the bread, which direction you faced while speaking the name of a god. Each ritual was a thread, and together they held the world in place. But not all rituals were peaceful. There are hints, just hints in old Sumerian tablets, that sometimes the offerings went further, that animals were killed, blood was spilled. One text speaks of a ritual where a lamb is cut in the name of Enlil. Another mentions binding the feet of the guilty before the storm. Some researchers believe these may have been symbolic. Others think they were literal. And then there are the statues gods with enormous eyes, holding bowls, as if waiting to be fed something more than bread. We like to think we've moved beyond that, but sometimes, in places that value tradition, wealth, or unseen power, we still see strange rituals, secret ceremonies in underground rooms, global elites gathering in forests wearing robes, symbols drawn on walls older than the religions we know, whispers of sacrifices made for luck, for favor, for the stars to align. Are they echoes of the Anunnaki? Are they just human nature repeating itself? We don't know. But the feeling in the temple is familiar. The quiet reverence. The fear of offending something greater. The hope that someone or something is listening. You step back out into the sun. And for a moment, you look around differently. At the tall buildings. At the signs carved in stone. At the people rushing to please invisible systems they don't fully understand. And you wonder, maybe the gods never left. Maybe we just changed their names. The temple fades behind you. You walk further through the city, where the walls are rougher, the streets narrower. Here, the sandals are worn, the hands are calloused. This is where most people lived. They built the ziggurats, but never climbed them. They carried the offerings, but never spoke the prayers. They were farmers, potters, brickmakers, servants, and sometimes slaves. Their names are mostly lost, but they were the heartbeat of the city. A man wakes before dawn. He ties a cloth around his head, walks to the canal with a shovel. He will dig until the sun is high, then carry baskets of wet earth back to a kiln. For this, he's paid in barley, maybe beer, maybe not enough. His body belongs to the city, or to a temple, or sometimes to another man. And yet he sings the same tune his father sang, because the rhythm helps keep his hands moving. There is no rest day. There are no rites, but there is routine. And in that, a kind of survival. Not everyone stayed at the bottom. A boy born to a poor family could, if lucky, be sent to the tablet house de Edaba. There, he'd learn to shape a reed stylus, to press symbols into clay. Hours of copying lists, god names, grain tallies, star positions. It wasn't glamorous, but it was powerful, because the one who wrote was the one who remembered, and the one who remembered could become more than just a laborer. Some scribes became priests, some became judges, some became the voice of the temple itself, all because they learned the language of the Anunnaki. But many never rose. They lived. They worked. They were buried in the same clothes they wore every day. No tombs, no tablets, no statues. Their names may never be known, but they were there, just like today. Behind every monument, every leader, every ritual are the hands that quietly built it. They may not have stood in the light of the gods, but they held the world together. You sit now on a stone wall, watching the sky turn orange. The city winds down. A temple bell rings in the distance. Someone sings a lullaby nearby. You close your eyes. The gods, the kings, the slaves, the scribes, all part of the same world, all trying to make sense of life, death, and the stars above. And maybe, just maybe, you begin to understand the story of the Anunnaki wasn't just about gods. It was about us. The stars are out now. You lie back on a flat roof, the mud bricks still warm from the day. The city has gone quiet, just the soft hush of wind over stone and the distant creak of a wooden door. Above you, the sky stretches wide and dark. You see the same stars the Sumerians once watched. The same constellations they believed were maps. Messages from the Anunnaki. Somewhere, far below, a priest finishes his final chant. A mother rocks her child to sleep. A tablet cools beside a kill, its wet marks drying into history. And you feel small, but not forgotten. You've walked through their streets, heard their myths, seen their fears, their hopes, their quiet prayers. The Anunnaki may be gone, or they may never have left. But their world, their dreams, their stories, they're still with us. In every question we ask, in every mystery we feel, just beneath the surface of things. So sleep now. Let the dust settle. Let the stars turn. Let the old gods rest. You've made it through the cradle of civilization, and now you can close your eyes.